7 ways to improve your closing ratio. Right. Closing ratio is the single biggest indicator of sales effectiveness. So are you keeping your eye on the ball? First says, I can teach you how to improve your closing ratio, but if you're not really tracking it, then it's going to be difficult to know, that it needs to be improved. So first question is, are you asking it? Are you keeping your eye on the ball and understanding your closing ratio? But let's pretend you are, and so let's talk about how we can improve that. So first one we want to talk about is lead response. When a lead comes in, did you know if you contact a lead within 60 seconds, you have a 238% higher conversion rate than the second contact? So companies actually on average take 19 hours to respond via email and up to 61 hours to respond by phone. So are you getting beat by your competition due to poor lead follow-up? Responding quickly. Secondly, extract emotional equity over the phone. So if you are able to get your prospect to share their emotional frustrations with you caused by a project, then they'll trust you more. So at the end of the day, people do business with people they like and they trust. So a couple of examples here is, tell me a little bit more about the leak. Let's pretend as a roofing contractor. You could ask that question. Could you be a little bit more specific? How long has that been a problem? What have you done to try and fix it? Did you give up trying to solve it? So this is like a funnel. You can take them down this path of them sharing over the phone what's really going on. And you really, at the end of the day, if they're investing into you, then they're not investing into another contractor because they don't want to do that. They feel like they feel like they're dealing with somebody that's able to take care of it because the way you ask the questions. So really important to do that. Thirdly, set the agenda. If you don't have an agenda, you're going to default to the prospect's plan. So the one with the agenda controls the outcome. So a couple of examples are, here's what I'd like to accomplish, when I arrive at your property. Let's pretend you're there. I'd like to gain a full understanding of your problem and ask you a few more questions. That can be okay. So you're getting permission, kind of letting the guard down. And, I know your time is valuable, as is mine, but would you be open to letting me know if this is a fit or not after my presentation? So a couple things. Again, everybody's got a different agenda. Some things you can do is get decisions, be able to ask questions, but ultimately it's in your hands. It's not in their hands, so you want to do that. Another way to improve your closing ratio is stop emailing proposals. You're communicating all of the time. 55% of communication is nonverbal, 38% is tonality, and 7% is the actual words you speak. So when you email proposals, you're limiting yourself to only words. Then it becomes a price game, not about value. So stop emailing proposals. Present to the decision makers is the fifth one. Your closing ratio is going to drop if you don't present to the right people. So are you holding out until you can meet the owners at the same time? Are you more comfortable dealing on a less threatening level? Are you even asking about those that you can deal with? It's important to do so. For example, is it going to be the board, husband and wife? Questions you can ask is, Mr. Prospect, so who in addition to yourself will be involved in this decision-making process? Keyword process. Also notice I said in addition to yourself. We don't want to make people feel not important, right? So, sixth one. Prioritize by tracking sales behaviors. You got to prioritize. If your closing ratio is going to drop if you're not spending your time on the right stuff, right? Day to day. So you or your sales team, you need to know when a decision is going to be made, follow up accordingly. You got to track the pipeline so you can, that's based on timeline, so you can prioritize which one you should go after now. Like, for example, I got my hot ones, I got my warm ones, I got my ones that are a year out. We need to understand and stay connected to those and then keep following up until a decision's been made and they solve their problem. So, for example, track sales related behavior, track those activities, track those steps so that you can avoid spending time on what we call non-revenue generating behavior. Everything's important in a business, but if you want to grow, if you want your sales to grow, if you want to improve your effectiveness, your closing percentage, you got to spend more time on the right stuff. So some examples of things you can track are confirming estimate and presentation dates, right? Extracting pain, making presentations. It's doing follow-ups, follow-up contacts, following up in your pipeline, getting introductions, asking for referrals. Those are activities that generate value. Those are revenue generating activities. But ones that don't are more paperwork or even project management. Sure, you gotta build value and do what you actually said you're going to sell, but that's something that somebody else can do. It's not it's not quite possible for everybody to be good at everything. So if you're in sales and you're able to start to delegate and wear multiple hats, do the right behaviors and then track those so that you can improve your closing ratio. In light of that, the follow-up, these statistics are just classic statistics about follow-up. 48% of salespeople never even follow up. 25% make a second contact and stop. 12% of salespeople make 3 contacts and stop. And only 10% of salespeople make more than 3 contacts. But 2% of sales made on the first, 3 on the second, 5 on the third, 10 on the fourth, 80% of sales made on the 5th to 12th contact. If you want to improve your closing ratio, you got to follow up. Okay, because if you're not, you're going to be like the rest of your competition. If you want to be better than your competition, you just got to follow up a few more times, stay connected, keep tracking it, keep it in front of you, and you're going to blow your competition away because most everybody else is moving on to the next thing, or they're getting distracted. So closing ratio goes up by follow up. All right, then seventh way that you can improve is make those decisions as future decisions of what you can go after next based on facts, on emotion. For example, lead source performance. Are we going to continue to invest in lead sources that aren't working, or the ones that are? If you're not tracking that, it's difficult to know. Do you always know what the people's performance is in the process, or do you just know when it's too late, like after the quarter's over? Or are you managing the steps prior to the results to help you understand that? Do you have data to improve your business or to focus on your, or is it still just a guessing game? Are you just guessing, you hoping, you're wondering, or do you have the wherewithal, the knowing, right? So recap, 7 ways to improve your closing ratio. Lead response, quick, and timely is going to help your closing ratio big time. Beat your competition. Extracting emotional equity over the phone. I don't want to talk to 5 different people, different contractors, if the first one asks me great questions. I feel like I could trust them. I don't have the emotional capacity to blurt my frustrations to 5 different contractors. But if 5 different contractors just show up and email me a bid, I can do that all day long, but I can't have meaningful conversations with that many. So if you're that contractor doing a good job there, you're going to separate yourself from the competition. Set the agenda. You control the outcome. If you don't, you won't. Stop emailing proposals. You can improve your closing ratio just by making presentations to the decision makers. Prioritize by tracking sales behaviors. If you're going to spend the day in between sales presentations, you got to spend time managing and tracking the activities that do give you more revenue versus spending your time on the ones that don't, like introductions, referrals, follow-ups, confirming appointments, next step calls. And start making future decisions to improve your future closing percentage based on facts, not emotion. So how are you tracking your closing ratio now? Are you doing that at all? If you're not, you need to. Again, there's plenty of ways to do so. The really good way is having a piece of technology to do that for you. So anyway, closing percentage is important. If you don't have it, you do this, you'll improve it without knowing it. If you do have your closing ratio tracked, you do these things and you'll see a boost and immediately. So hope you enjoyed that, and happy selling.